Okay guys, welcome back. So today we're just going to basically build on the server we built in the last video. So you'll remember we was using the HTTP server module. We created a server which basically echoes the path into the browser window. As you can see here, we've got the we're writing the path, and we're slicing the path string from the second index onwards, and it's then rendered into the window of the browser. So what we're going to do here basically is just upgrade this server to create give it a task list functionality. So we'll be able to add tasks to the browser window and delete them as well. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do, I just want to change this because this is going to be just called request handler going forward. And we'll change that down here as well. Okay, so I'm going to create in the global scope just a task list variable. So say task list equals, just do a Python list for now. So task 1, we'll say task 2, finally task 3. Okay, and then so I want to output this task list to the browser window. So I'm going to delete this part here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just create a output variable. So we'll say output equals, start off the output. Then we're going to add some opening HTML and body tags. So plus equals HTML body. Okay. And then I just want to add a header to our task list. We'll say, H1. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a for loop just to iterate for each task in the task list and list it as a in list form in our browser. So we'll say for task in task list output plus equals, say task, and then we just want to do a break line as well, a HTML break, just so they're listed on separate lines each task. Okay, and then outside of the for loop, I just want to close off our output with closing HTML body tags. So we'll say body HTML, and then the final step here is you want to write this output to our browser window. So just similar to the last video, we'll say self.wfile, which is writable file.write. We'll put the output there, and we'll say obviously we have to encode it as well because this is going to be sent. We want it to be sent as bytes, a bytes object, as that's the way that it has to be sent by bytes for a HTTP request, and then it's encoded on the other end into the HTML format here. Okay, so it should be enough for now. I'm just going to change our port address as well because I feel like there's something running on port 8000 already. I'll change it to 9000 for now. Okay, so let's try this out. If I go to, I'm in my terminal here in the web server folder where our Python web server.py file is saved. So I'm just going to do a python 3 web server.py. You can see our server's running on port 9000. So if we visit that, say localhost, and you can see we've got a task list header here, and each task is listed as task 1, 2, 3 as a list. Right, so that's a good starting point. Okay guys, so the next step here is we want to create a page in our server where we can add a new task to our Python task list here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I just want to go underneath our get request here, underneath the header. I'm just going to add a new link to a new page. put an h3 and then an anchor tag, add new task. Let's say close the anchor tag, h3. Okay, and I'm just going to put a href in here, and this is going to take us to / task list / new, and we're going to create another if statement to handle this / new hyperlink here. Yeah, so what I'm going to do up here as well underneath our do get method is I'm going to say if self dot path, and then there's another method here called ends with, and basically this just takes the end of a address path, so we'll say task list for now / task list, and then I'm going to indent this chunk of code underneath. So yeah, what it's basically saying is if self.path.ends with / task list, then it will run this code here. So if we save that for now, let's just check this is working. Okay, so our server's running. Yeah, so if I go to just port 9000 for now, you can see we're not getting any response anymore. So if we take task list, you can see we're getting our page again, and we've also got our new hyperlink here as well, which will take us to new. But we haven't got a get request method which handles this request yet, so that's going to be the next step. So again, underneath our do get method, we'll say if self.path, again ends with, we'll say / new. Again, we're going to send the same response. We want a 200 response. Content type, text HTML. And then I just want to add some output to this again. So again, we'll take the opening HTML and body tags. I then want to add to this output, so we'll just say, do a header one for now. Just add new task. Okay, and then underneath this we want to include a HTML form, so we'll say output plus equals, add a form in there. Okay, now for our form we need a method which is going to be a post method, method equals post. We also want a encoding type, so that's enc type, and this is going to be multi-part / form data. So this is just basically saying how the form's going to be encoded when we post the form over the HTTP server. So it's going to be encoded this way, multi-part form data. We also, the final attribute we want here is just the action. And that's going to be where the post takes place, the post request takes place. This will be / task list / new. Okay, so next in our form, I'm just going to add to that. So you want a plus, we need an input. The name of this input is going to be task. The type be a text input, and we'll just add a placeholder for now as well. We'll just say add new task. Okay, and then we want a submit button. Again, we'll say input type equals submit, and then we'll say value add Okay, and then finally we just want to close our form. Yep, and we'll also just close out our HTML and body tags as well. Okay, and finally self, we want to write the file, we want to write the output to the window. Self.writable file again, .write, we'll say again output. So this code should be looking quite familiar now. Okay, so that's that part done. Let's test this out. Okay, what's going on there? String error. Okay, oh, I've not added a closing quote at the end of that string there. Let's just check I've not done that for any others. Okay, that looks good. Let's try again. Okay, so our server's running. Let's try going into task list again. And now when we click on add new task, yeah, it takes us to the new window. We've got our input text block here and our add submit button. Now this isn't going to work now because we haven't added a post method in our server to handle this post request. So that's going to be our next step here. Okay, so to add new post functionality to our server, we're going to create a new post method underneath our request handler. So this is going to be do post. So we'll say def do post. And again, that's going to take in self. Okay, so we'll do self. So again, so similar to above, if self dot path ends with, we'll say /new. Okay. Now underneath here, we're actually gonna import a new library. So we're gonna use the CGI module. So import CGI. Now what this module does, it's built into Python. So it stands for Common Gateway Interface. And what this allows us to do, so it's used to process user input submitted through a HTML form here. Okay, so to show you how that's done, the first thing we're going to do underneath our post method, if we're receiving a post request at this path here, we want to do, so first we need to get the content type and a dictionary of the content type parameters. So we'll say I'm creating two variables here, C type, content type, and dictionary, parameter dictionary. And we're going to say CGI, and this has a method called pass header. And in this function, we're going to say self dot headers, and then there's another method called get. And in here, we'll just say content type. Okay. Now, what's happening here is, what's happening there? Okay. Right. So what happens there is, so C type is when we submit our post request, C type is going to scan our post and it's going to see the content type is actually this multi-part form data. So the C type is going to equal multi-part form data. And then with multi-part form data, you usually get a boundary key. So it'll give us a parameter, a dictionary parameter with boundary key, which basically allows our server to separate the values provided within the form. So it will separate, we have our input name here, task. It will separate the submit value. It's quite confusing. It took me a while to get my head around this, so any questions, please feel free to ask, but we'll go ahead with this. So what I'm going to say is if C type equals multi-part. Actually, let's just copy that. Multi-part form data. We're going to say CGI, no, so fields. So we're going to get each individual field of the form. So equals CGI. And there's a method here called pass multi-part. And then we're going to take in, we're going to read the file, read the post that we're currently sending. So self.read file. And then we're also going to place in that parameter dictionary variable we created. So this is just basically going to read our form, and it's going to use this parameter dictionary to separate each attribute of the form that we're sending. Okay, so now we've separated our form into separate attributes. We'll have like the name attribute and the submit attribute. We're just going to say fields. So we'll say a new task equals fields, which is this variable we created here. We're going to say .get, and the attribute we want from the form is this task. So this is where this is going to be the task name that we enter into the text input. So we'll just say task. Okay. Next step we want to do here is we want to append this task to our Python list up here. So we'll say task list dot append, and then we'll just say new task. Okay. I hope that should work. Next thing we need to do with a post request is obviously just send the headers again. So I'll take these up here for now. Now it's going to be slightly different here. So we don't want to send a 200 response, we want to send a 301, which is a redirect request. What we want to do, or what we want to happen, is once we submit our form, we want our server to redirect us to the /task list main page where all our tasks are listed. So 301, again we want to send a header content type, text HTML. We also want to send another header which contains the redirect location information. So send header, we'll say location, and then we'll put the path in there. So this will just be /task list. And then we'll end the headers. Okay, now hopefully this should work. We'll try it out. Just end our last session, click that. Okay, so our server's running on port 9000. Let's give this a go. Just make sure everything's working. So we add a new task. We'll just say task 4. Okay, so we're getting a message here. Boundary equals pdict. String has no attribute. Decode. Okay, now I believe I have seen this error before. So yeah, this was an error I was receiving which I couldn't really make out what was going on at first. I found this on Stack Overflow. So what we have to do here is actually decode. Let me just make this a bit smaller for now. Okay. So what we have to do here is actually just decode our boundary key. So what we do is underneath this line here, I just want to decode that boundary, pdict boundary. We want to convert it into bytes for now. So let's try that. So if I run our server again, yeah, sorry, I need to take out the underscore there. Okay, right, third time lucky. So task 4, Yeah, I need to change that both. Okay, sorry about this, guys. We'll get there in the end. Promise. Okay, and now what's happening here is we've got a key error, content length. Okay, so basically when you get a key error, that usually means the key isn't featured within the dictionary of parameters. So what I'm going to do here is just going to add this parameter to our parameter dictionary. So you said in this post here, thirdly, to fix the error of not having a content length in the P dictionary, just add these lines before the if statement. So content underscore length equals. So basically we're just giving the content length. This bit of code here gives us the content length for the post that we're submitting. So again, this has got to go before the if statement. Yeah, so it's getting the content length of our post that we're submitting. Again, we're going to say pdict, we're going to add a content length key, and that equals the content length of the post. Save that. Now hopefully this should work. Let's clear this out. Okay. Task 4. Right, okay, so what's going on here is, let's try. I just want to check. Let's just do a quick. I want to print new task in our terminal just to see what's going on here. I'm not going to stop the video because this will be useful for other people to see, I feel, so. Okay, so it's giving us it's returning our list here. We can see it's returning the new task is this. We've got task 4 there. So what we want to do here is if I index that to null, so we want the first index of that list which our new task is returning. Start again. Oh, what am I doing? Sorry, silly of me. Need to put that in here. Okay. Okay, yeah, so we're getting the actual task 4 now. Right, let's try this. So I want to do task list.append this new task. Let's see what's going on now. Hopefully, I don't know why this isn't working. Ah, brilliant. Okay, it's working now. Right, so we got there in the end. Try one more time. And there you go. We can now add post task to our task list. So yeah, sorry that took a while, guys, but we got there in the end. And yeah, now our next step is just we want to make a functionality where we can delete the tasks as and when they're completed. So we'll show you that next. Okay guys, so to add some, just to add remove functionality to our server or our task list, we're going to go back up to our get request where the path ends with / task list. And then within our for loop, which lists out each task, I'm just going to add another piece of output to this for loop. And we'll just say here, we want an anchor tag. And the href is equal to / task list / we're going to do a Python string in there with remove / remove. Okay, and then we want an x, close the anchor tag. And what this string is going to be, it's going to contain the name of the task. Okay, so let's quickly try that. So if we refresh this, you can see we've got our links up here. And when we click on the X, it takes us to / task list / the name of the task / remove. Okay, so now we need to handle this get request where there's a remove at the end of the file path, the address path. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to create another if statement underneath our do get method. Line. Okay, so if self.path.ends with, let's say, / remove. Okay, now the first thing I want to do here is just get the task list ID for this task here. So we'll say list ID path equals self.path.split so I want to split the path up by the / here, and then this will be the third index. So let's we'll say 2. Okay, so I just want to check that list ID path to make sure. Just shut this down for now. Okay, so you can see here we've got the task list here, so task 202. Okay, now what we want to do is we just want to add some output to this. So I want to just send the usual headers. Text HTML. Then we're going to add some output again. So I'll take this output. Okay, so remove task. And then I'll put another Python string in there, format string. And I'll just say, in this case, this will be the list ID path we created. List ID path. And we want to replace, because when we splice the string, we're getting this % and 20. So we want to remove that basically. So we'll replace the %20 with just a space. Okay, and then so I just want to check this is working. If we just do the usual self.wfile.write. Output.encode. Right. Let's start the server again. and you can see, yeah, we've got remove task 2. So basically what this has done is this has looked for the second index. See here, look for the second index when we slice up the path string, and then it takes the task name from that file address path and replaces the %20 with a space, so we just get the actual task list listed out here. Okay, so next step in this remove page is we want to, let's make this a bit bigger. Okay, we want to add a form, so we'll say form, and again the method for this is going to be a post method. The encoding type is going to equal multi-part /form data. Action is going to we say task list / remove, and then we need to add the task in there, so %, and that's going to be the list ID path which we had up here. So okay, cool. Then next in the form, we just want to add a submit button. So we'll say input, and then type equals submit, and then the value equals, we'll just say remove. Okay, type submit, value remove, that's great. Now I'll just close the form tag out as well. Okay, and then I also just want to add just a cancel in case we don't want to remove. So we'll just say in that case, I'll just put an anchor tag in there. I'll just say href. That'll be / task list. This will just make us return to the original list without making any changes. Say cancel. Okay, so let's give that a run. Start the server up again. Refresh, you can see we've got a remove button, and then we'll have our cancel, which takes us back. So now we just need to add the post method for this remove functionality here. Okay guys, we're nearly there. So just to get this remove functionality working, we need to go back down to our do post method here, and then we're going to create another if block. So if self .path .ends with, we'll say remove / remove. Again, we're going to just create our list ID path variable equals self.path. We want to split the path up by the /, and then it was at the second index where our task list name was featured. And then I'm going to take the similar approach up here. We're going to pass our form submission. Okay, I'm going to say if the content type equals multi-part. Actually, let's just copy that from here. Because multi-part of form data, we're going to say list item equals self.path no. So yeah, equals list id path dot split. So replace, and we want to just replace that percentage and the 20 again. So percent 20. We want to replace that with just a space. And now, so what we'll have now is just the actual name of the task. So we can say task list dot remove. Then we'll just say the list item. And then as per above here, we're just going to send the 301 redirect response. Going to redirect it to this location here, task list. Okay, so we come out the if statement and place that there. Now hopefully we should have a working task list. So if I start my server up again, just go back to the home page. Right, so if I had a new task, task 5, right, if we want to remove this, remove task 5, and you can see it's been removed. We can remove task 3, removed. So just go shopping. And yeah, so you can see it's fully functioning now. We're able to do get and post requests on the server. We can add tasks to this list. When you want to start a server up, you probably just want an empty list here, but these were just for testing purposes. And yeah, that's basically it, guys. So I know there's a lot of code here, and this usually you'd want to use kind of a framework to handle all this kind of server-side stuff, because this is just a lot of repeated code here, so it's not very usable, but this is just to give you an idea as to how servers work. Yeah, I hope you found this video useful, and yeah, if you did, please subscribe. I'm going to release more coding kind of based videos going forward, so yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.